The next presentation is How to Avoid Toxins in Skin Care by Trevor Cates, Dr. Trevor Cates. I'm really excited to have her along. I think this is one place where it is really hard, especially as a woman, to find skincare products that are non-toxic. And I've done a lot of research on this. And even there are a lot of natural products that don't really qualify once you get into the nitty-gritty ingredients of them. And so in putting this presentation or this Expo together, I was looking for somebody who has the expertise here, and Dr. Trevor Cates is the person. She was the first woman licensed as a naturopathic doctor in California, which is also a cool piece of information on her that I didn't know before she sent in her bio, so that's very cool. She has a website and a company called The Spa Doctor. She has a booth outside where you can see all the products, but I'm really excited to hear more about the skincare products and what we need to be looking for, and how we can make sure that we're putting stuff on our skin that's good for it. So thank you very much.
Make sure is it working? Yeah, great. Also, I'm going to be doing a book signing afterwards, right? We have there's a table right by where you checked in, and I have books that I'm giving away, signing for you guys. So thanks for being here. There's this light shining at me right here, so I have actually two, so I'm going to kind of come a little closer so I can see you guys better. So there's a lot of concerns about toxins in skincare, and I definitely want to help you be aware of this and be educated in this so that you can avoid the toxins in skincare. And I know that there's a big focus at this conference talking about how to reduce toxins and the impact on our health and the environment that these things have, and skincare is definitely one of those areas. And I think I just love this. I like my facials like I like my people, non-toxic, right? Before we get going into like ingredients and what to look for and how to read your labels and all that sort of thing, I want to talk about skin overall, because I think it's important to look at skin differently than what most people are used to doing. And I like to call skin our magic mirror, because it's this great outer reflection of what's going on inside the body. It's our largest organ. It's right on the surface of our bodies. We don't need special imaging equipment to see this organ. We just need to look in the mirror. And oftentimes, we're getting signs from our skin that something is out of balance. These can be really, anything but redness, itching, dryness, eruptions, breakouts, hyperpigmentation, premature aging, but really anything less than vibrant, glowing skin is a sign that something's out of balance. So it seems like there are these secrets about skin and really what's going on with skin. And typically in conventional dermatology, the approach to skin issues is to suppress the symptoms. So topical steroids, antibiotics. But the problem with this approach is it not getting to the root cause of what's going on. And skin is giving you signs. Oftentimes, it's the first sign that people have that something's out of balance with their bodies, is with their skin. One of the reasons why I got so interested in this area is that when I was a kid, I was really sick, and I had a lot of allergies, infections, and these would show up on my skin. Eczema, hives, little mysterious bumps that would appear. And my parents took me to see a number of different doctors, different specialists that would give medications and topicals, oral medications that I would use. Unfortunately, I just kept feeling worse. I would develop adverse reactions or allergic reactions to these different medications, and I just kept feeling worse. And I remember how much, not only did it impact me on a physical level, but skin issues, especially when they show up on the face, can impact people on an emotional level too, and impact people's self-esteem and how they show up in the world. People with eczema, acne, rosacea, hyperpigmentation, these are things that are sometimes hard to hide. And we really shouldn't have to hide them because our body's giving us a sign that something's wrong. And so luckily, when I was a kid, my parents didn't give up and they kept searching, and that's what led them to find a holistic practitioner. And they took me to this holistic practitioner, and it's the one thing that finally turned my health around. And I remember thinking, as a kid, why did it take us this long to find this approach? Why wasn't holistic medicine part of what was initially presented to us by all the doctors that I saw? And so it became this lifelong passion of mine to help others, to not go through the struggles that I went through, to be able to find an approach, a holistic approach, easier. So that's what eventually led me to go to naturopathic medical school. And are you guys all familiar with naturopathic medicine, what a naturopathic doctor is? Does anybody not know? And a lot of people don't know what it is, so I just don't know this group very well. So naturopathic physicians are trained as primary care doctors. So we can diagnose, we can treat, we can even prescribe medications in states where we're licensed. But we really believe in supporting the body's innate ability to heal and starting with things like lifestyle changes, diet, stress management, those sorts of things first, the least invasive medicine, and then using nutrition and herbal medicine, those are things that help support the body naturally. And then if we need medications, we can prescribe those when necessary, but we don't use them as a first kind of line of defense, right? We look to support the body. And so that's what a naturopathic physician is. And so I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And what was really interesting is I ended up working at a Waldorf Astoria spa in Park City. After I practiced in California, I moved to Utah, and I was practicing there. That's where I got to become known as the spa doctor. That's kind of the name that kind of came up around it. But what kept happening in the spa is I was doing a 2-week weight loss program. And at the end of the 2 weeks, people kept saying, Dr. Cates, I've lost all this weight. I feel great. But what's really amazing is my skin. I didn't know it could look this good. My acne cleared up, my rosacea, my eczema, all these different things, they've gotten better, but I have this healthy glow that I never knew was possible. And that's when I realized that this idea that skin is something that just needs to be suppressed and covered up was too much. It's just this secret that needs to be we need to get rid of it. We need to figure out to go beyond this and have more of a holistic approach to skin. So, and it is what eventually led me to create my own skincare line, and why I'm so passionate, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about natural and organic ingredients and avoiding the toxic ingredients. So I want to talk about all of that today. Oops, I pushed the wrong button. They told me not to push that button. I'm kind of a rebel like that, though. How do I get it to go back to full screen here? Perfect. Thank you. I'll hit this button instead. So, as I was saying, if you can find the root causes behind skin issues, you're going to not only be able to help your skin, but if you look at this list, I believe that, and I talk about this in my book, Clean Skin from Within, I talk about 6 root causes that lead to skin issues. So I believe these are really the big root causes that are behind most skin issues. If you look at this list, inflammation, oxidative damage, hormonal imbalances, blood sugar issues, nutritional deficiencies, microbiome disturbances. I don't have time to go into these today, but if you look at that list, is it only skin that's related to these things? No, right? You think about inflammation. How many different health issues are related to inflammation, right? Pain. There's a lot of chronic pain that's related to inflammation. Autoimmune diseases that can be, really big health issues that people have. Cardiovascular disease, cancer. A lot of root causes are also tied into these other diseases. So if you address these root causes, then not only can you help your skin, but you can also prevent and address other health conditions, some of the big ones. So a big part of the message is let's get back to nature. And the dirt. There's great microbiomes, like the bacteria that are in the soil, and so many things that we're learning that we've done so much damage to our bodies in this process of our germophobia and all the cleaning agents that we use, and that are not only harmful to the environment, but they're harmful for our skin, are harmful for our bodies. If we could just get back to nature, Nature's so wise. There's so much. And yes, that is me. As a little one, I grew up on a farm, organic farm, and apparently I liked the mud a lot. So I knew back then about the skin microbiome, apparently. So to help people identify their root causes, I created 5 different skin types. I talk about these in my book, and again, you guys can stop by and get a copy of the book for free, so this is all in there. So I actually created different skin types to help people find the root causes. So I have an online quiz, it's theskinquiz.com, and if you go and you take the quiz, you find out your skin type. If you find out your skin type, you know which of the root causes are really impacting you, because not everybody has all 6 root causes. So they take a skin type quiz. You can find out your root causes. And again, if you address those root causes, then you're going to be able to help not only your skin, and even if you don't have skin issues, as I said, a lot of those root causes are associated with other health conditions. And so here's the thing. What I've noticed in my practice is that this is what happens when we ignore the messages our skin is trying to give us. So for example, I've seen many people that started off with eczema, kind of like what I had, and they were given the topical steroids, they were given medications to suppress the symptom, so maybe their itchiness diminished a little bit, and so they were able to live through it, and they just kind of kept going along without addressing the internal inflammation and some of the other root causes, but they kept going along. Then develop asthma because they haven't addressed that root cause. And then if they still continue, now they have an inhaler, now they're taking antihistamines, then they continue to ignore that, then I've seen people develop autoimmune diseases because you're ignoring your immune system. You're not addressing and supporting and balancing your immune system. You're telling it it's wrong. You're suppressing it. So this is why it's so important to get to the root cause. And we can address the root causes in basically 4 different angles. Again, I cover all this in my book. This is really the main approach to the 2-week plan of my book is clean plate, clean slate, clean body, clean mind. So clean plate are the foods that we're eating, foods that we eat, the foods that we avoid, because these can help address the root causes like inflammation. You can choose to eat foods that will increase inflammation, or you can choose to eat foods that decrease inflammation. Then there's clean slate, which is the main focus today. We're talking about the things that we put on our bodies and how we can choose things that are going to actually worsen the root causes and be toxic to our bodies, or we can choose ingredients, and I'll share some of that today too, that actually helps support our body, to help support the skin microbiome. And then there's clean body. Those are also, there's a lot of talk about this at this conference too, of what else is in your home? What's in your food? What's in your water? What's in your homes? What are the toxins that are there, and how can you avoid those or reduce them so you can reduce the overall toxic load? Because that is so key. We are exposed to more toxins now, harmful toxins, than we ever have been. Think about it. We've got new things being created, new chemicals being created. We don't even really know how toxic they can be. And we have ones that are existing right now that we know are toxic, but they're still kind of being used. And then there are the ones that have been banned, but they don't go away in the environment. They stay. They stay, like lead, for example. We don't have leaded gasoline. We don't have leaded paint anymore, but it's in our soil, right? And so now it's in our food. And we have mercury in our water, and it's getting in our fish. I know I don't want to be doom and gloom here. I'm more of an optimistic person, right? So what I want to do is tell you how you can reduce your overall exposure. Because it's the places that you have control that you want to really focus on. So skincare products is one of those. You get to choose what you put. Nobody's forcing you to put skincare products on, right? Well, maybe when you're little, maybe you're if there's kids in the room, you're being forced to put sunscreen on. But it's our choice of what we put on our body. It's our choice of what we bring into our homes, what we eat, the water we drink, how we store our foods, all those things. So clean body is a lot of that. Clean mind has to do with stress and how you manage your stress and how you show up in the world and your mindfulness practices and all that, because Stress can be like a toxin in the body, and it can trigger the root causes. It can trigger hormonal imbalances. It can trigger inflammation. So all of these are really important for addressing the root causes. So like I said, we're focusing on clean slate today, which are the skincare products that you're using. And we really want to start with a clean slate. That's a lot about what this clean skin from within approach is. Avoid toxic ingredients and replace with nourishing ones. You don't just have to give it up. You don't have to just go without skincare products, without your personal care routine. Just be educated about it. There are mostly women in this room. I think that the whole pampering, self-care process of cleaning your face and putting products on is kind of a self-love, self-pampering. I think it's important for us to be able to do this, but we want to be able to do it in a way that is clean, that we're not exposing ourselves as well as the environment to more toxic chemicals. So, are you guys familiar with the Environmental Working Group?
Yes.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of great information on their website. It's ewg.org. So Environmental Working Group did a study looking at how much personal care products people use. And on average, people use, this is across the board, both men and women, on average, people use 9 personal care products a day. That exposes us to 126 unique ingredients. And that's an average. I know if you start adding up all the different products that you use, not just the ones you put on your face, not just makeup and facial products, but deodorant, shampoo, conditioner, hairspray, shaving creams and lotions and colognes and all that kind of stuff. You start adding it all up, there are a lot of products, a lot of ingredients. And here's the problem, is that in Europe they've banned over 1,300 ingredients in personal care products. In the United States, the FDA has only banned 11 ingredients. 11. That's really frustrating. It doesn't make you feel like protected and safe, does it? So it's really up to us to do a little research. Just like you're going to look at the ingredients in your food. You're going to look at the ingredients if you take supplements. You're going to look at those and be aware of what's in there. You want to do that with your personal care products too. There's this big myth that what we put on our skin just sits there. It just stays on the surface. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just our skin, right? Well, think about it this way. If you wouldn't put it in your mouth, you probably shouldn't put it on your skin, because your skin is your largest organ. It's very permeable. It's not as permeable as your digestive tract, but it still is. That's why we have hormone creams and nicotine patches and all those kinds of things that we put on the skin, because it's a route of administering medication to the body. So what is in your skincare products that you're getting? The biggest thing is what you use on a daily basis. The great thing about our bodies is they're wise and able. We've got our liver, our kidneys, this lymphatic system, our digestive system. We can get toxins out of the body to a certain extent. But when you're constantly putting these on your body every single day, the same chemical ingredients, that's when it's hard for the body to get rid of it, because it's just getting that constant exposure over and over again. So I'm going to talk about really 5 ingredients today, but I have a list of 20. They're in my book, but I'll put them up on the screen again. You can get a copy of my book, so they're all in there. But one of the biggest concerns with personal care products is hormone disrupting effects. And this is a really interesting thing, because as we, and again, we mostly women here, as we women especially get older, we start to use more and more personal care products. We use more creams and lotions and things to help us keep looking beautiful as we age. It's just part of what happens. Also, what happens is our hormones start to change as we age too. And they're actually constantly in flux, both men and women. But but here you are, you're putting more products on that could potentially have hormone disrupting effects. So you're just adding more complication to that root cause of hormone imbalance. So this group of chemicals they're called endocrine disrupting chemicals, or EDCs. And they're a group of chemicals that have been linked in the research, and there is plenty of research out there on this group of chemicals. They've been linked to these and really a bunch of other hormonally related conditions. But if you look at this list, these are very common things. Thyroid problems. We're seeing more and more people with thyroid disease, especially autoimmune thyroid disease. Infertility, early puberty, early signs of puberty. Obesity, diabetes, certain types of cancer like prostate cancer, breast cancer. And what happens with endocrine disrupting chemicals is that they bind to hormone receptors in the body, and they either mimic the hormone, they'll actually act like the hormone, or they'll turn off the signals so they just can't function properly. So this can then lead to a number of different issues. Now, skincare products are one of the places we're exposed to these endocrine disrupting chemicals, but they're also in our water and our food and our, the air we breathe. Unfortunately, it's around us a lot. Again, the idea is let's reduce our total exposure. When you talk to skincare manufacturers, most of them will say, there's just such a tiny little amount, it's okay, it's not going to bother you, it's not going to hurt you. I don't believe it. I think that we need to be careful because we are exposed to them in all these different places, and the research is typically done on an isolated ingredient or chemical. What about the combination of all of these things once they get in our bodies? Nobody's really looking at that. So that also concerns me. And with the rise of a lot of these health conditions, you can't help but think there's got to be something going on here. So let's talk about how you can start avoiding them in your skincare products. This is a huge one. If you could only pick one ingredient to look out for, this is one that you can start with. Fragrance. Fragrance is not an ingredient. It's not one ingredient, but it's listed on the label as one ingredient. But actually, under the word fragrance is a whole bunch of other chemicals. And many of these actually have endocrine disrupting effects. An example of that is diethyl phthalate, or DEP. And diethyl phthalate is a type of phthalate or plasticizing agent. And phthalates are known to have hormone disrupting effects. You probably heard about the concerns of chemicals in plastics and how they might be of concern. Well, they're using these in fragrance to help the smell last longer. And there's been studies done on diethyl phthalate and phthalates, and actually showing up in urine samples. And so most people actually walking around with phthalates in their bodies. And they're, luckily our urine, that means we're getting them out, but we're constantly using these every day. And of course, fragrance is in everything, right? Everything. You start listing off all the personal care products you use, there's fragrance in everything. And even I'm so shocked to see even some of the so-called natural skincare products out there. You'll look and you'll still see fragrance listed there. So, and maybe it's phthalate free, maybe it's DEP free, maybe it doesn't, but unless you know what's in that fragrance, you're just going to assume that it's going to have these endocrine disrupting chemicals. So instead, you can choose to go fragrance free, or you can use things like essential oils. And I'm going to talk about one of my favorite essential oils, but there are so many. And what's so great about essential oils is that they smell great and they have health benefits. Shocker, right? Instead of side effects and health concerns, you can actually get benefits of the essential oils. Mood enhancing benefits, relaxation, and so many. We're learning more and more about essential oils. I think there's, some essential oil people here. So you can talk to them too if you want to learn more about essential oils. But so many great alternatives now. That's the good news. I remember when I graduated when I was in naturopathic medical school, that was like 20 years ago, I remember it was like this choice you made. Either you're like natural and you just kind of went with, like maybe a little stinky, but you just live with it. And you just kind of skip the beauty routine, or you had the alternative. Now we have so many more options, and okay, so there's this other group, another one to watch out for, and part of the reason why I want to call attention to formaldehyde releasers is that close to 1/5 of all cosmetics in the United States contain these, and actually I think it's probably even more than that. That was according, I can't remember who came out with that report, but I think there are actually even more. So there, it won't say on the container, it won't say formaldehyde or formaldehyde releasers. It'll see things like diamhydantoin. Does that say formaldehyde in it? No. Right? You wouldn't know that there's formaldehyde. So this is I'm not even going to try and say them. I've been on, when I was on the Doctors TV show, I tried to say a couple of them, but I was careful not to say them all because I didn't want to get tongue-tied there. But so you can look for these on the ingredient labels, and I think you'll be really surprised when you start picking up your lotions and your shampoos and all the different products you use. You might be surprised to see how many. Sometimes I'll just, I've gone into grocery stores and drugstores and just started to pick up bottles and look, and they're there, and I realize quaternarium 15, nobody's going to know that had formaldehyde releasing in it. So why they're called formaldehyde releasers is that with these group of chemicals, when you put them on the skin, when you put them on, they release formaldehyde. Actually release formaldehyde. We know that formaldehyde is a carcinogenic ingredient. It causes, it's been linked to cancer. And we know that it's most toxic when inhaled. It can also be absorbed through the skin. So another one to avoid. Okay, mineral oil and petroleum. And I'm picking ones, the reason why I pick these are because they're the ones that are in so many products. And it makes me sick to see these. The mineral oil comes from petroleum, which is also where gasoline comes from, right? And there are cosmetic grade mineral oils that are supposed to be clean. And so the idea is that they've removed the carcinogenic ingredients, that there's none of the PAHs that you'd find in crude mineral oil. But we're not really sure it's happening to the level that it should. And there are some concerns about contamination, and some of these components are actually showing up in human samples, in fat biopsies, for example. So where's it coming from then, right? It's got to be coming from our personal care products. So they reach our fat, lymph nodes, liver, spleen, lungs. I think it's better just to not use these ingredients, honestly, because you could keep using them and hope that they're not affecting you, and wait for the FDA to maybe find something out and to ban it, and wait for the research. My feeling is that, God, there's so many great plant oils out there, right? That why not use those instead? These plant oils don't have these concerns about contamination, but they actually improve the quality of your skin. Mineral oil and petroleum products, they might feel good and smooth when you put them on. Like, think about chapsticks. Chapstick's a big one, right? Think about all the petroleum products that are in chapsticks, and you're licking your lips all the time. You're basically eating that, right? You don't want to be doing that. You could be doing something like that, which, by the way, when you wash mineral oil, if it's not doing anything to help your skin, it's not really improving the quality of your skin, but some of the plant oils I'm going to talk about improve the texture, the quality of your skin, and they're clean. And they contain antioxidants and all kinds of benefits. So I think we are going to see, and we're already starting to see, natural skincare, a huge boom in this market of this interest, and the public interest in natural skincare. So it's so great to see this. So big manufacturers like Johnson & Johnson, or some of these big companies, they're starting to look like, oh, how can we make more natural products? So it's great to see that. And so I think we'll probably, even with mineral oil, we'll probably see that being replaced with some plant oils. Parabens, a lot of companies are already have been starting to take these out. There's been a big fight. They still don't think it's a problem. But even after a 2004 study that showed parabens being detected in breast tumor tissue. So parabens, what you'll see in the products are things like propylparaben, benzylparaben, methylparaben. Those, you see paraben at the end of the word. These are known to have estrogen mimicking effects in the body, and they're showing up in breast tumor tissue. That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. So that's one of the reasons why they have been, skincare companies have been starting to remove them, the parabens, from the products. It's still there, though. I still see them in some natural skincare products, even. Natural, air quotes here. So I did, when I was manufacturing, getting ready to launch my skincare line, the Spa Doctor skincare line, I took 10 of my patients and had them do a urine test. I selected these 10 patients because I knew the products they were using. And I picked people that were using a variety of different products, but I knew they all contained parabens. And so I had them do urine collection for a test that looks at parabens in urine. And all 100%, all 10 had paraben levels, detectable paraben levels, varying amounts. And then I had them repeat the test after they switched over to my skincare line, which of course is paraben free. And so of course they dropped off. 2 people though still had parabens. And I was like, wait, what? Why do you still have parabens in your, and why is that showing up in your urine? They're not coming from my skincare products. So I was talking to these 2 on the phone different times. And I said, so what else were you using? Oh, I forgot that I was given this topical cream for my eczema, or I forgot that I was using this body lotion. So I said, okay, go get that body lotion right now. We're on the phone. Read to me the ingredients that are on the label. And the exact paraben, because not all these parabens are in all products, the exact paraben that was in that product was what showed up in their urine. So it's not like, are these getting absorbed? No, they are. We know that. We know they don't just sit on the skin. They are. There's a lot of money in skincare, personal care product industry, just so you know. These people have a lot to lose when they have to change their formulations. I know that too. Oxybenzone, this is another one. It's in most sunscreen. Here we are doing a great thing. We're protecting our skin from damage. We're protecting our skin from skin cancer, right? So we're putting sunscreens on, but unfortunately, most of the chemical sunscreens out there have endocrine disrupting chemicals in them, including this one, an oxybenzone. So this is probably the worst of the chemical sunscreen ingredients. There are other ones. My thing is, I think it's better for people to use zinc oxide-based sunblocks instead. So if you're looking for a good sunblock, that's what I would suggest. Look for because with the chemical sunscreens, when you put them on, it's creating a chemical reaction on the surface of your skin, and that's what protects you from the sun. When you use a mineral sunblock, it's a barrier. So it's a little bit of a different. If you think about how it works, sometimes that helps you figure out what's actually a safer option. Now, I know that with people say, oh, but zinc oxide is so pasty and white, but actually the technology's gotten better. There are different ones out there that go on easier. You can also find tinted versions. If you're a woman, and that's what I think, instead of using like a foundation or something like that, then just use a tinted zinc oxide sunblock for the face. It's a great option. Okay, so these are all in my book. You guys can get a copy. I talk in the book, I go through all of these and why, and I have the research. Again, Environmental Working Group is a great resource for these too. You can actually, there's the website, ewg.org, and they actually have verified products too. My skincare line, the Spa Doctor skincare line, is EWG verified. But if you go to ewg.org/skindeep, that's a database where you can actually enter in your, like your mascara and the name and the color, and it'll tell you how it's rated. and why it's rated, low impact, low concern, mid concern, high concern. And you can actually go in and look at the studies associated with that and decide for yourself if it's something you want to be using. Just becoming an educated, aware consumer. EWG Verified is, I had to send my products in, they did a full analysis and approved my product, so that's a bit step further than just, somebody getting a green light from them. Okay, so here's the thing about skincare, and the reason why I created a skincare line is that there was this myth when I was working in the spas. People would say, Dr. Cates, tell me what skincare products I should be using so that I can reduce these toxins like you're telling me to do, because we were I'm educating everybody on reducing their exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals. So I would tell them, and then they'd say, yeah, they're just not working for me. I don't like the way my skin feels. I'm going to go back to using the toxic stuff if that's my only option. I still got vanity, I got to look good. And so I thought, well, there's something wrong here, because you shouldn't have to choose between natural or effective. I'm a naturopathic physician. I believe and I understand and I see the healing power of nature. So I started digging into the research, and I realized that there were certain things that were missing on a lot of the natural skincare lines out there. And this is why I decided to create my own. And so what I found is there are 3 keys. The first one is that they need to be truly clean and made with natural ingredients. There are a lot of products out there that say they're natural, but they'll still have mineral oil or parabens or fragrance in them. So they're not truly clean. So that's the first thing. That was my first criteria. It's like, it's got to really be clean. The second thing is that I realized I was looking at the natural actives, so the ingredients that in the research they show, like CoQ10 and green tea and these things that are so powerful for the skin and that show that they can have effects, is that a lot of times skincare companies would just put a teeny little amount and it says contains CoQ10, but it's not really enough to make a difference in the skin. Or it's not the actual kind that the body makes and can actually do something with it. It's kind of like supplements. You probably heard, calcium, certain forms of calcium are more absorbable than others, or certain types of iron are more absorbable than others. With skincare products, there are certain kinds that just don't really do much for the skin and others that do. So I wanted that. And then I also found out about the skin microbiome. And I'm going to try not to go overboard and geek out on this, because I can totally geek out on skin microbiome. I love this stuff. So the skin microbiome is this balance of microorganisms that live on our skin and protect it, keep it healthy. You may have heard about the gut microbiome. Have you guys heard about the gut microbiome? There's a lot of talk in the health and wellness space about the gut and the importance of digestion and our overall health, and has a lot to do with things like probiotics and taking probiotics to help your gut microbiome. Well, your skin has its own microbiome, and it's very different than the gut microbiome. So putting probiotics that you would take internally on your skin isn't really going to do much, because they're different microorganisms. But when you have a healthy gut microbiome, it actually helps create a healthy skin microbiome. And there's a lot of research coming out. And as naturopathic physicians, we've been talking about this for years. Get back to the gut, treat the gut, address the gut, and you'll have healthy skin and healthy bodies and prevent and treat disease. And now the research is aligning with this. So it's so exciting to see the research on the microbiome coming out and unfolding, and supplement companies and labs and things getting on board, and pharmaceutical companies saying, hey, what's going on here? We need to get involved in this. So there is a lot of research talking about the gut-skin connection, the gut-brain-skin connection, all of these things. So internally, a lot of skin microbiome can be addressed from the inside out. But also what you put on your skin can impact your skin microbiome. So think about all of the antibacterial soaps we use. And now it's starting to come out like triclosan and some of these ingredients that we realize are doing more harm than good, that are actually killing off not only the bad bugs, but also the good ones that we need to keep our skin healthy. And so it's one of the reasons why we're seeing more kids with eczema. We're seeing more people with eczema and things because we're stripping the skin of these, and also more acne too, because we're doing all these antimicrobial things that disrupt it, that destroy it. And then when it gets there, it's harder to get back. So looks like you guys have pretty healthy skin. So now you can just kind of keep it going and doing some things to help support your skin microbiome, but avoid the ones that disrupt. So I know we've been talking about toxic ingredients and how they're harmful for the body. I talked about hormone disrupting effects. But those ingredients can also disrupt the skin microbiome, and it's so crucial for the health of our skin. And so one of the things in skincare products, what we use topically is, of course, we want it to be clean and not contain those ingredients that disrupt, but also the pH of the products. Our skin has this natural mild acidity to it. It actually does best in this mildly acidic state. And a lot of the products that people use on their skin actually have a high pH. Like bars of soap, if they lather up, that usually means it has a high pH. And so that's too high for the skin and actually disrupts it. And then that can't help with our skin microbiome. So if we support the skin with the mild acidity, actually pH a little bit lower, then that actually can help our skin microbiome flourish. So when I was looking at the research on these things, I'm like, wow, I didn't know any of this. I'm just trying to help people from the inside out, and a lot of that, I mean, I think that's like 80% of it. But then there's that extra, what do we put on our skin? So this is what I think, when you're choosing skincare products, I really think not only should they be non-toxic, but you want them to actually work to help your skin microbiome. Does that make sense? Because I think, there are different layers to this. So we want our bodies to be healthy, but we also want to help support our skin. We're going to have it for our whole life, take good care of it. So the skin's exterior has a natural pH of 4 to 4.5. So review chemistry class, 7 is neutral pH, and it goes down to 0 being very, 1 being very acidic, 14 being very basic, alkaline. And I know that people oftentimes are drinking alkaline water. And so the water that you might have in your home, but if you have an alkalizing agents in there, might actually even be higher than 7. Using water on your skin actually isn't good to use alone. It actually doesn't support your skin's pH. So in a lot of cleansers, in lotions, you'll see they have a pH if you were to test it. And I've done that with pH strips or different things, usually over 5.5. So they're too high. They're actually not creating this environment for a healthy skin microbiome. So what you're going to see more and more in the skincare industry, because I just was at a skin microbiome conference, and there are a lot of manufacturers and pharmaceutical companies and different groups there try and get on board on the skin microbiome research and how can we make money off this, right? There's a lot of people in the room at that conference. So what you're going to see in skincare products is probiotic skincare. And I think it's such a great idea, but we don't have really the research to support that very much at this point. There's so many microorganisms that live on our skin that it's really hard to isolate that, put it into a product, and then know that that product's going to live, and then transfer over to putting it on your skin and create the benefits. We're a little ahead of the research, but it's coming, and I'm really excited for that to happen. And as soon as that happens, I'm going to hopefully be one of the first to do probiotic skincare. Right now, what we do know is how to support the skin to help the skin microbiome, which one of the things is with the pH. Does that make sense? So it's almost like, have you heard of prebiotics? Like you take prebiotics to help the good bacteria grow in your gut. It's kind of like that idea of let's create an environment where the good bacteria can grow. Okay, so how are we doing on time? So there's so many things in nature natural ingredients that don't have these endocrine disrupting effects, that don't have these concerns about damaging the skin microbiome, and in fact can actually help support it. So I'm going to share with you some of my favorite ingredients There are a ton. There's so many great natural ingredients out there. I'm just going to give you some of my favorites. And I have a whole list of them. Again, in my book, there's these and others. So argan oil, you probably heard of argan oil. It's a great ingredient, natural oil. People are using it in their hair and their skincare products. It's rich in vitamin E, fatty acids, carotenoids, phytosterols, like antioxidants, antioxidant-rich oil. Imagine that. An oil that doesn't just make your skin look pretty when you put it on. It actually gives you some protection. Because oxidative damage is one of the big root causes with skin issues, especially with hyperpigmentation, premature aging. So antioxidants are very important, both internally and externally on the skin. And so it also helps restore that acid mantle, that mild acidity to the skin. Actually helps support it. And it gives it that softness, that luminosity that we enjoy on the skin. It doesn't clog the pores, and it is anti-inflammatory. It's got all these great properties. Compare that to mineral oil. I mean, come on, this is a no-brainer, right? And I mentioned in some of these slides the skin types that it's good for. And so it can be used on Olivia skin types. Olivia skin types tend to be a little bit oily. These are my 5 skin types I talked about at the beginning that have to do with the root causes behind them. So Olivia skin types tend to have a little bit oilier skin, a little bit more acne-prone skin. So you can still use it with those types. It's also very soothing for Emmett and Heath skin types, which tend to have more inflamed and sensitive skin. Arnica montana. Arnica it's also a pretty well-known homeopathic remedy for those of you who may do homeopathy. It's great. It's known for traumas and wound healing. And so this is also a great ingredient for skincare products because you can actually heal and soothe the skin. And so it's also great for the dark under eye circles. A lot of people say, like, how can I get rid of those? They're oftentimes due, though, again, get back to the root cause, oftentimes due to allergies. They're oftentimes called allergic shiners, the darkness under the eyes. So address that root cause, but then also you can use a little arnica to help with soothing that. And then, again, another one that's good for Emmett and Heath skin types. Aloe, I'm sure you've heard about the benefits of aloe and how soothing it is to scrapes and mild burns and those sorts of things, being very healing, having an aloe plant in your home. Kids love it. Kids love having aloe plants. I know it's just like immediate relief when you can open up an aloe plant and put it in a kid's skin. They're like, oh my God, I'm cured. So, and this is great for a lot of different skin types. Sage is more of the premature aging type of skin, so it can be very soothing for that too. Chlorella is a type of green algae, and lots of great purifying, energizing properties, protective benefits. You think about, algae and where, being in the ocean, and it's got these UV radiation protective kind of qualities to it. I think the source is important. I think this is a good conference to talk about that kind of thing. The source being organically farmed because of where it comes from, the algae. You want to make sure it's a clean source. Resveratrol is a potent antioxidant that comes from grapes. Have you guys heard of resveratrol? Yeah, really great antioxidant internally, but also externally. And there have been some good studies on resveratrol, on the protective benefits. Again, it's particularly good for sage skin types. One of my favorite essential oils is ylang ylang. And have you guys familiar with the scent of this essential oil? I think it's both men and women love it. It kind of crosses both sexes. Like they both seem to like it. It's not like a feminine smell, but there's some really great benefits on multiple levels. So it has sort of a euphoria, sedative benefits of it, as well as having sebum balancing benefits when it's applied topically. Now, I think that essential oils should generally be diluted. So this is not something I want you to just start slathering on your skin. First of all, you'd smell pretty strong if you just started putting it all over your face. But you just use a few drops in your lotion. It's in my essential oil blend of my skincare line, but it's also a great one to have individually. And that's just one example of essential oils. There's so many good ones. I think there are some teas that are really great to look for in skincare ingredients. White tea, green tea, black tea, all of these have some benefits, and they're very anti-inflammatory, soothing for the skin, great for the Emmett, Heath, sage skin types. Also black tea. You could actually, you probably heard the little getting tea bags and putting them on your eyelids to kind of help with the reducing the puffiness. It's because there are these tannins in green teas that have this drying up kind of effect. So it tones up the tissue. So it's a great ingredient in skincare. Turmeric is also, I'm sure you've heard about the properties, the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties, and how you should incorporate this in your food and using like Indian types of spices and things like turmeric. You've probably heard a lot about this. It has some really great benefits on the skin. Also has those anti-inflammatory benefits and sebum balancing as well. I suggest sometimes a little DIY skincare. A lot of times I'm interviewing, people will ask me for a little tip. If you have like a pimple, just pops up, and this isn't great for people who are really struggling with acne, but if you get that occasional pimple, just do a combination of turmeric and honey, and just make a little paste and put it on the pimple and leave it on for maybe 5 minutes or so, and then rinse it off. And it's amazing how it'll help with quickly healing that up. Ginseng, and as I'm going through these, you're probably thinking, oh, these are things that I would consume. I like green tea, I like turmeric, I like ginseng. These are all things I take internally. Well, yeah, that's because what you put on your skin should be probably something you might want to put in your mouth because you're going to absorb it. So ginseng has this, it's known as a potent adaptogenic herb. So it helps with de-stressing the body, and it's used internally to help kind of with managing stress and adrenals, but it can be used topically to also de-stress the skin. There was some interesting research on the skin actually has this HPA axis inside the skin. We've got hormone stuff going on inside the skin. So more research is coming out about that. That's really great. Sea buckthorn fruit oil. I know people a lot of times talk about vitamin C and the importance of vitamin C in topical skincare products. And this is an ingredient, an oil that naturally has very high levels. So some people take this internally, but it can also be used externally. Partly one of the reasons I love it is because of its high vitamin C levels. Also there's cranberry seed oil, another high anti-inflammatory, antioxidant rich, nice blend of omegas. Rose hip fruit oil, beautiful rose hips, high in essential fatty acids, vitamin A. Really great in particular for sage and amber skin types. CoQ10, I mentioned earlier, this is really great ingredient. Some great research showing its anti-aging benefits and helping with wrinkles, collagen. And the source is important. So we use a non-GMO yeast fermentation ubiquinone source because that's more of what the body makes itself. So we want something similar to what the body makes. We don't want the genetically modified version. So that is, those are some of my favorite ingredients. Again, they're in my book, Clean Skin from Within. We've covered some of the clean slate aspects. But remember, it's not just what you're putting on your skin, it's also what you're doing internally and addressing the root causes. You're looking at the body and all the different ways you could be exposed to these toxins. And so I wanted to share a few things on clean body and reducing your exposure. Just some tips. I mean, these are really simple things that you can be incorporating in your homes. And you may already be doing this already. Removing your shoes when you get in the home. You know why? Because I'm sure people are going to be talking about this. Well, yeah, you're at the gas station, You walk through some gasoline at the gas station, you're coming in, you're walking on your carpet, you're just pulling it right into your home. And especially if you have pets and your dogs, you know, your cat's crawling, you're picking it up, you're holding it, you've got kids, they're crawling around. Just think, it's such a simple thing. Just, you know, or, you know, think about walking through the park, just walking the dog at the park, but all the pesticides, unfortunately, that they spray in the parks, though you're bringing those into your home. So just take your shoes off. It's nice. I live in Park City, Utah, and it's kind of nice because they're like, oh, well, you know, we don't want snow in the house, so take your shoes off at the door. We have a little spot there. Change your air filters. If you have a central air system, change those filters regularly, depends on how much you use it, every month or every few months. And then having those ducts clean, because that will help with the air in your home. Our homes are so well sealed. Again, Park City is one of those things. So it's really cold outside, so you want your homes to be sealed well, but then all the stuff that's maybe off-gassing in the furniture and the cleaning products and all that stuff is kind of lingering and stuck in the home. So doing things like maybe getting an air filter, making sure at least you're changing your duct filters. Looking at, as soon as there's any kind of water damage, making sure that you take care of that before it becomes a mold problem. Mold in homes is a really big issue. I have a podcast called the Spa Doctor Podcast, and you can find it on iTunes, really anywhere you like to get, download a podcast, you can find the Spa Doctor Podcast. It's also on my website, thespadoctor.com/podcast. I just had Dr. Jill Krista come on. I've had a few different people talk about mold. It is something that I think not enough people are talking about, the toxicity of mold. We think of mold as something that's kind of natural, but it actually can be very toxic. So if you want more information, that's a great place to check out her podcast, because we just talked about that recently. Cleaning products. Don't idle your car in an attached garage, especially if you live in a cold place. And this is where people are tempted to do it. What happens is actually if you have a warm home and a cold garage, when you turn your car on, the air from your garage can get sucked into because the air likes to go from cold to warm, so it'll pull it into the home. So whatever's happening in your garage ends up coming into your home. So just, again, some of these are simple things. Washing new clothes before wearing. Do you have any idea what they put on our clothes to make them look good? All of the anti-wrinkle, the fire retardant, all these kinds of chemicals. That's great. That's great. We look good. But then do we want these to be wearing them around our bodies? If you can wash them a few times, it helps remove some of these. Looking for alternatives to pesticides. So going back to the skin, it's really a holistic approach. We want to stop suppressing and ignoring and covering up. Don't just wear more makeup, right? Pay attention to the signs. Look for and address the root causes. Support the body's innate ability to heal. Give it the tools that it needs. With clean living, food, skincare, what you have in your home, stress management. The daily practices are what are super key. What are the most important things? What you do on a day-to-day basis. It's not a matter of going to a retreat and doing a cleanse once a year. I'm not saying you can't do that. I think it's great to kind of do a kind of a reboot, but it's really the daily things you do every day. So I'm all about creating a holistic skincare movement. I think it's so important, and I've started to train other health and skin professionals on a holistic skincare approach. So if any of you are interested in that, come let me know how you can be a part of the holistic skincare movement. And that's it. I think we're probably out of time here, but I can take a couple of questions a couple minutes.
What do you think about...
Yeah, that's so bright right there.
What do you think about titanium-based sunblock versus zinc?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's best to go with the zinc oxide-based one. That's the one that I recommend. There's one that I sell on my website that's a zinc oxide. That's what I recommend. There's some concerns about titanium dioxide. It's probably okay, but there's some concerns. One of the things about mineral sunblocks in general, a few things to be aware of, is that if they're nano-sized particles, so they're improving the technology so that they spread on really easily, so they're putting them in teeny, teeny little particles. The problem is that these particles become so small. What happens when we put them in or on around our bodies? So be careful with the ones that are sprays or powders, because the concern about the nano size is that we breathe them in, then they can get trapped inside our lungs and the alveoli and create inflammation. Think like asbestos. You know how we don't want asbestos, right? Like think like that. So just with you when you're doing the mineral sunblocks, avoid the sprays and the powders if they're nano-sized. If they're not nano-sized, your body can just process that typically. Yeah. So anyway, so thank you all. I do, like I said, I have be doing a signing of my book right over here, Clean Skin from Within. If you want to get a free copy, signed copy, just come by. If you have any other questions, you can come there. I'm also giving out, we're giving out sample kits of my 4-step skincare system, the Spa Doctor Skincare. We sell it direct to consumer online, so it's easy to buy online. We have an auto ship program, all of that great stuff. You can come to the booth and learn more. Okay? Thank you.